People who have visited Germany, what surprised, amazed or intrigued you the most? I drive through the country thinking that it looked like a fairy tale. Then I realized many fairy tales I knew as a kid likely originated from Germany. The Gebrüder Grimm send their regards. Oktoberfest is a bigger deal in Milwaukee than it is in Köln. Pretty much all German stereotypes are really just Bavarian stereotypes. It's really just as foreign and gimmicky to a northern German as it is to an American. The biggest two were I saw Germans speaking to Germans in English in Berlin, and I saw Brits working service jobs who didn't know a lick of German. After that, I was shocked that Berlin's transit system runs on the honor system. You're expected to purchase a ticket, but there is only a small chance you'll ever be asked to show it. Germans still talk about east-west divisions in the country. Ugh. I lived in Berlin for a year, snuck onto the S-Bahn twice, and got caught both times. The second time, I saw a woman who looked familiar, thought, where do I know her from, and that second, she yelled, Fahrschein bitte. I was surprised by how many Germans spoke perfect English. One of them even apologized to me for ending a sentence in a preposition. The clubbing scene in Berlin. In England a late night is 3/4 in the morning. In Berlin the clubs stayed open till 6 the next night. Some clubs in Berlin open doors Thursday 10 PM and close Monday 11 AM. You go party, get home for sleep and go back to the place for more party. We rented a car in Frankfurt, then drove to Wurzburg, Stuttgart, Munich, south into the Bavarian Alps, and finally north to Dresden. After all that driving, I realized just how freaking great the autobahn really is. I was nervous at first because I was expecting this lawless experience where there's never a speed limit and you can drive like a madman legally. In reality, it was efficient as heck and very pleasant to drive on, as long as you knew and obeyed etiquette, which almost everyone did. It was like all the drivers were cogs in a well-oiled machine. Frickin' glorious. Also, all the windmills. Just don't see those much in the US, at least not me. They are beautiful. American here. The complete lack of ice in beverages. All of the drinks had their own glass, and the glasses had a line which to fill the liquid too. It was so weird drinking water rodeo cold. That and drinking in public. It was the best wandering around the open air markets holding a glühwein. My boyfriend is German and I went to visit his mother over the summer in a tiny town about 50 miles east of Frankfurt. The closest large town is Fulda, so I cannot attest to cities, but this is rural living Germany. Everyone spoke English decently well. It was only the elderly that had issues. They all acted like they were bad, but when I tried to practice my German they did a polite "you can speak English dear" kind of attitude. They were curious about what I thought about Germany and America. I got asked about Trump regularly. There were a connection of wonderful bike trails interlacing the smaller towns around. My BF mentioned biking 20 kilometers to see an ex or go to class regularly, and I thought he was nuts, but after seeing those bike trails I could probably go for 50 and not really notice. Brunch is God's gift to man. The food is cheap. 20 euros will get you far in the grocery store. And by the brie, America has laws about having cheeses age less than 60 days, so our brie isn't quite right. I thought it was good, but I was wrong. Also, they don't drink their beer room temperature, so I don't understand that. It's just not super chilled. It's like 40-50 degrees, not 35. Beer is also everywhere. I have a photo of it in an electronics store and it isn't the large national brands. People drink the local beer. It's just what you do. Also, there isn't much variety. Dunkel, dark, or Weiss, white or wheat, or standard. No IPAs or craft beers, and most people thought it was weird I loved Guinness. Drinking culture was a lot more relaxed, since people were drinking since legally 16 but culturally 14 or so. No one really cared. I was drinking with a 13-year-old at one point, which was a bit disconcerting to me, but everyone else shrugged and seemed unfazed. The bastardized American food is hilarious. You can buy hot dogs and cheeseburgers already in buns, and it was semi-normal to have the extra large size have an American flag on it. Going clothes shopping is awesome. I needed jeans but didn't understand the sizing. The attendant looked at me, told me a size, gave me a pair, and they were perfect. Quickest I was ever shopping in my life. A Bentbrot is an interesting tradition. Instead of a full dinner they have meats, cheeses, and bread to snack on. It was quite good. I miss that honestly. You weren't so stuffed, just happy before bed. America needs more trains. It was nice to catch the train when it was rainy to the next town. I rarely rode in a car, but for your information they are all manual. Only dumb people get automatic apparently. The autobahn is sweet. It's not unlimited all the way. When you get near cities there is a speed limit, but through the countryside you may be going fast, but you're never the fastest one on the road. I had a great time in Germany. I miss it. I was surprised how much the landscape looks like my home state of Wisconsin. If the signs in the countryside had been in English you could have convinced me easily we were in Wisconsin. It's no wonder so many German immigrants settled in Wisconsin. It looked like home. I was amazed at how happy everyone seemed to have visitors to the country. I've never felt more welcome in a foreign place than in Germany. People would apologize to me for their poor English, which just floored me because 1. It's me that should apologize for not speaking the language as I am the visitor, and 2. Most people's English was better than many Americans' English. I was intrigued at the amount of food and beer, how good it all was, and at beer in the morning. We went to a church service and they had little cakes or donuts after the service like we do at home. But along with coffee there was free beer at 10 in the morning. As a college student I knew I was in heaven. Haha, I'm English and I live and work in Germany. The amount of times people apologize for speaking German when they realize I'm English blows my mind. Dude, you do not have to apologize for speaking German in a German coffee shop in Germany. The amount of Turkish people living in Berlin. I had no idea. Jesus cursed the bread. I'm fully convinced Germany only sells bread that can double as shelter in times of need. The food. Dang good. Real portions. My German friend laughed and laughed when I told him this story. In 1976, before Google Maps, of course, I was driving on the autobahn and I saw a sign saying Ausfahrt. I checked my map and could not find this town. No problem. I proceeded another few miles and another sign said Ausfahrt. I was thinking that this must be a big place but still could not find it on the map. It eventually dawned on me that it meant exit for all us non-German speaking folks. How beautiful Berlin was. I really wasn't expecting it to be so green and grand for some reason. There were parks everywhere. Also, I was surprised with their openness to talk about the events of World War II. Having spent a long time in Japan where they don't talk about it, it was refreshing to hear German people acknowledge the past and were keen to pass on information. Maybe it's because I had come from Amsterdam, which is gorgeous through and through, but I found Berlin to be incredibly drab and depressing. Parts of the city are truly beautiful though. American that lived in Germany for 2 years. Mephrostock. Raw pork scared the heck out of me initially. Now I really miss it. Lekker metbruggen. My boyfriend and I, Australians, visited in January this year. We were amazed at how well the Germans can drive in snow. In fact, we had just finished commenting on it to each other when we witnessed a 80-year-old German man accidentally back his car into a lamppost. He looked at us, furrowed his brow and made the obvious decision to drive our way and pretend it never happened. We told our German friends when we saw them next, and apparently it's some kind of national shame to not be able to drive one's car perfectly in snow conditions, and he had probably assumed we were judgmental Germans, not bemused Australians. Depends on the part of Germany you're in. In southern Germany you'd be expected to drive properly in snow. In other regions less so. Near Cologne traffic goes to walking speed once the first snowflake was sighted. Having grown up in the south, that peed me off every winter while I was living there. Crap just works. We lived in Italy for 3 years, 2010 to 2013, and took a couple of vacations outside of Munich, Garmisch. Italy was dirty, disorganized chaos 90+% of the time. No such things as lines. Horrible corruption, even in everyday life. Rudeness everywhere we went. When we drove into Germany, it was almost like crossing into a polite, clean wonderland. Everybody obeyed the rules and was quite polite and understanding. We had learned some basic Italian, and were treated with nothing but derision by most Italians. When in Germany, I tried out some of my high school German, 22+ years later, to get directions, and the people I was talking to told me in English that they appreciated my efforts, then answered my questions in English. Gracious, clean, organized. A+++ would visit again. The castles everywhere, good food including the amazing fresh French fries that come with currywurst, the history of Berlin and how much spying the East German regime performed, that there were amazing museums in East Berlin during the communist era, that people didn't seem to mind subsidizing Greece, that people are nostalgic about Ampelmünchen, East German pedestrian crossing symbols, how heavy the traffic is on the Ortiz 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 on the hard-working, industrious people who also play hard. How authentic Germans are. In America, food and services are always done so with a smile. Places like McDonald's force their employees to smile and say have a great day when serving customers, even though it's superficial. In Germany, people understand that the outcome of their day is rarely affected by how friendly the workers are. The employees are more real in their interactions and aren't supposed to act chipper if they don't want to. That's one of the reasons Walmart failed in Germany. They expected to import practices without change to Germany, which included smiling people at the door greeting customers, and bagging of groceries. Let's just say we weren't particularly thrilled. All the castles, being able to drink out in public any way you want, the amazing food, I could go on for days. You're so much like my own culture, Norway, Iceland. You're a whole lot more organized than Iceland, but you might as well just be Norway, with more people and fewer fjords. You must have been to the north of Germany. The south is very different, Imo. From my experience, Norway is like Germany except everything is the correct size for tall people like me. Also much more beautiful nature. Hello, OP. I had the good fortune of visiting a small town in Germany called Wuppertal. It is near Cologne. If I recall correctly, it was lovely. Everyone was incredibly nice and helpful, and almost everyone spoke English. Background: I went there for a first aid competition. I was impressed, almost to the point where my jaw dropped, at how efficient Germans are in their first aid. It was phenomenal. Almost machine-like efficiency. And the food, wunderbar. It is funny that you call Wuppertal lovely. I'm living close to Wuppertal and it is often an example of ugliness. There are some nice parts and the Schwebebahn is awesome, but it does not have a nice historic city center as a lot of other German cities. Dunner. It's amazing. Why is there not a food cart selling it in my city? I like the train system a lot. Very nice. I felt like I got stared at a lot on buses and trains. To be fair, I was speaking English, but this wasn't like a quick surprised side glance. This was full on, not looking away when I caught them. Lasted until I got off the bus staring. I've read in other contexts that apparently Americans stare less. That is, the time span after which it is considered staring and rude is shorter in the US. Your alcohol and party culture among youths. I was a 17-year-old American in Germany for 4 days. We were invited to 4 different parties. However, only one of those we got drunk at, prom, and the rest was just chillin', having a few drinks, and making some BBQ. Since you're exposed to alcohol at such a young age, I really feel like the attitude towards it is so different from an American perspective, as at the time I thought you only really drank to get drunk and adults were the weird ones drinking only a few drinks. It is very different, and makes it less of a rebellious thing to do. How clean it is. I've been to a few places in Germany and it's very clean. The bathrooms even have automatic toilet seat cleaners. I could easily live there just for that reason. You don't have to live in a bathroom, regardless of how clean it is. Public transit is clean, inexpensive, and functional even in smaller cities. It is very easy to get from place to place. DB and U-Bahns were awesome when I stayed in Cologne for a trade show in Dusseldorf. I was told Germans are humorless. Not only is this untrue, Germans are the loudest and most honest laughers I have ever seen. Lots of throwing the head back to laugh. I was surprised to find that almost every restaurant we visited had tortellini on the menu. This was hilarious because despite the fact I translated the menu to my family, they always got tortellini because they could order it for themselves. I ate a lot more variety of foods on that trip. Everyone was super friendly. The food was great. Service was wonderful. Another thing I noticed is people drive the way they are supposed to. If you approach a car in the number 1 lane on the autobahn, they move over to the second lane. I met some wonderful people when I stayed in Munich. If I had the opportunity, I would live there. I lived in Germany as a kid from the mid-80s to the early 90s and have been fortunate that I've been able to visit again a few times as an adult. While I'm not German, I still kind of feel a sense of Germany being home, or other home. Visiting as an adult gave me an appreciation of some of the things I didn't really get as a kid. I feel that German workers are much more respected than they are here. You don't hear people saying things like he's just a waiter, or but what do you really want to do? My girlfriend worked in a relatively upscale restaurant here while she was in school and made relatively good money doing it. Definitely more than I make now, but since it isn't what Americans see as a real job, there were zero benefits, and her income was based solely on the generosity of others, virtually everything being closed on Sundays, and most shops close for about half an hour in the midday and shut down early in the evening. I think that's awesome. Obviously that's less prevalent in the major cities but common in the smaller towns and villages. People know to work around those schedules and don't need to have everything available at any time of day. I think that ties directly back into the respect of employees. As Americans, we have no concept of old, I mean really effing old, history in Germany, and the rest of Europe is everywhere and embraced. Go into the downtown of any major city, particularly the shopping districts, and you'll find centuries old buildings that have been retrofitted and modernized inside while maintaining the historic exterior. The town that I lived in celebrated its 800-year anniversary while I lived there. The street we lived on translated as Mill Corner Street, and at the bend in the road behind our apartment was the old mill dating from the 1600s. It wasn't a functioning mill anymore. The water wheel hadn't turned in ages, but it was still a working farm. We would buy our milk and eggs there because they were so much better than the commissary. I like ordering beer in Germany. It's very regional. Nothing like these restaurants and tap houses in the States with 100 beers on tap. There you walk in and ask for the style of beer you want and you get what is brewed locally. That's a bit of a generalization but not grossly exaggerated. I could go on, but this has been a lot of writing on my phone, or handy as the Germans call them, and I'm starting to go cross-eyed. Oh, one more thing. Germany is super dog friendly. Almost all the stores close on Sunday. There are no open container laws, and I imagine public intoxication laws are super lax. Peanut butter isn't a thing. You tip people outside public restrooms for keeping them clean. You have to pay with cash most places. Many years ago I went on a school trip to Berlin. What I absolutely loved about the city was the most subtle difference between East and West when it comes to their crosswalk symbols. I love those little guys and how one is with hat and the other without. The amazing part was that where I went with my family when I was like 6 was that there were castles freaking everywhere. It was awesome. There was also a lantern festival parade led by a dude in full medieval armor on horseback. I went with a school trip when I was 15. I noticed that the boys who were 14-15 looked like they were 12, whereas the ones who were 16 looked more like they were 18. In the span of 1 year they aged 6. Flew to Berlin, took a train to Leipzig, spent a few days there for a music festival, took the train to Dessau, spent the night there, took the train back to Berlin, spent the night there, flew home. It is freaking gorgeous. The weather is beautiful, the architecture, breathtaking. The people are incredibly helpful, even if they didn't speak English. When they saw that we were trying to speak German, they went out of their way to help. I want to die of old age in Leipzig. My husband and I only ran into one rude person our whole trip, and it was the bus driver in Berlin when we first arrived. He must have been having a bad morning. Hahaha. Bus drivers in Berlin have a reputation for being extremely grumpy. Lived there 10 years and got yelled at many times. I am glad you like the rest of the country, though. Great salad. Like everywhere we ate that had a side salad was a legit salad, not the joke ones you get here in the UK. And schnitzel, goddamn. Everything is so clean in Germany. There were flowers growing everywhere and zero trash. Everyone looked so nice and well kept. In fact, everything was so nice I was always super anxious about going out because it felt like I'd stick out like a sore thumb. Obviously not German. I'm going to be living here until the end of the summer and I've been here for 4 months already. So there's been a number of surprises for sure. Almost everything is closed on Sunday. Almost everything is closed by 8 or 9 o'clock. Restaurants, bars will still be open but only serving beer. Germany, Bavaria especially, is a place where things get done early. As a New Yorker, this was a bit of a culture shock. The food is absolutely fantastic. I'm honestly surprised that German food isn't more common in the United States. The portions are huge and almost everything is meat. The German people have more awareness. They know more about history than the average American. And they know more about what's going on in the rest of the world than the average American, at least from my experience. The German people are very friendly. I was told that they are stoic and aloof, but almost everyone I've encountered has been really open, helpful, and interested in talking. Maybe I'm getting special treatment for being an outsider, but it's still a very welcome surprise. Although Germany is known for its cars, cycling is very common here. Most cities and towns have adequate bike lanes. I purchased my own bike and it's a nice way of getting around. If you like palaces, castles, and cathedrals, come to Germany. There's one around every corner, and they're all beautiful. Despite what our world news will tell you, the refugee crisis isn't that bad. It's still a problem that requires an effective solution, but it does not impact daily life at all really. In my region I see more Asian tourists than Arab migrants. The beer. Holy crap, the beer. It's so good. I'll never be able to go back to drinking that crappy beer at college parties. People here drink beer like the British drink tea. If you feel like having a beer in the middle of the day, nobody will judge you for it. Germany is surprisingly diverse, even between Germans. The attitudes, lifestyles, and even dialects of a German city can be vastly different than that of another city just 1 hour away. So yeah, loving it here in Germany. Definitely would recommend coming here. It's a hugely underrated destination. I went to Berlin with school around this time last year. What really amazed me is just how efficiently your services run. The trains and buses were rarely late or took too long. The only exception was trying to get back from a Hertha match, but that's understandable. Secondly, even though there's either really low hanging clouds or it's a smog, I thought just breathing in and around the city was so refreshing. It was so enjoyable and really just woke you up. Finally, what I really loved was the fact that everyone apart from a few exceptions were super lovely and were so happy to see us try to speak German, and everyone was very patient with us. And your street takeaway kebabs are super amazing and delicious. They're so different to what we have in Ireland. And your women are beautiful. Tropical Island Water Park 11/10. Really loved it. So much so that some friends and I are planning to go back the summer of 2017 and maybe see some more of the country. Great country 10/10. I've been living here for 2 years and there's still a few things I can't over. 1. That they don't cut out swear words in songs on the radio. Every time I hear someone say frick I think or someone is going to be in trouble. 2. Public amenities, like big outdoor swimming pools for the public or well-maintained football pitches with goalposts and nets. Where I'm from you can't have nice things because dickheads will smash it up because they are dickheads. 3. The beer. Delicious. Except Oettinger. 4. Everything being closed on Sunday. If you fancy some microwave popcorn for an afternoon movie, then tough. You should have planned your impulses in advance. 5. Work. How serious they take work and how much pride they get from it. I mean, of trays to have it's a good one, it's just weird. 6. The Hochschwarzwald. Beautiful part of the world. 7. It irks me how everything has to be done the logical way, even down to stuff like sweeping the floor or doing the dishes. My GF is a micromanager. It's going to get done either way. Who cares if I'm not sweeping logically? 8. Public holidays not being on the next nearest Monday. If the date of the holiday falls on a Wednesday this year, then it's Wednesday off. If it's Tuesday, it's Tuesday, and if it's Sunday, tough crap. No extra day off for you. 9. Swabish Badish cooking is amazing. No matter if it's beer or a politician, never trust Oettinger. How much I enjoyed Berlin. My god. The history. It's like wading through waist-deep drifts of snow when you've only ever gotten a light dusting. Also how well they handled their problematic past, acknowledging without either whitewashing or wallowing. America could learn a thing or two from them. German food was unsurprisingly delicious. German people very kind and courteous. Almost everyone spoke English. The very first person we met was our cab driver, who spoke 4 languages. My only experience is the West, but the country was beautiful and very clean. Constance was wonderful. I've done a fair amount of travel. If I didn't live in the US, I would love to live there. I was overwhelmed upon visiting Leipzig and entering St. Thomas Church, where J.S. Bach had been organist, composer and music director. It was like stepping back in time and feeling his profound presence there within those walls. Yeah, walking around any German city, it's like, oh cool, a cathedral 300 years older than America. Literally cannot believe that nobody has pointed out the grotesque porcelain madness that is a German toilet. Honestly, the most alarming part of Germany for me. German engineering. We don't want to get poopy toilet water splashed all over our butt if we drop off a big dookie. My first time in Berlin, I was amazed by the whole feel of the place. It still had some of that post-war artsy hipster-esque feel to it. I remember going to a bar that looked like a beach bar, sand and torches included, in the middle of town. I celebrated New Year's Eve there a few years ago, and both the Christmas markets and the million people in Unter der Linden was amazing. The most surprising thing was the total lack of alternatives to the Hofbrauhaus in downtown Munich. There was a lot of dodgy places in the area surrounding the train station, but the area around Marienplatz was almost completely dead. That's BC. Marienplatz is like the Times Square of Munich. There are some cool areas a short distance away, but most of the Altstadt is for shopping or tourist traps, except the Viktualienmarkt. How saying "how are you" is not a greeting but a serious question. Said this to a girl at work while walking by her in the hall. She really took the time to tell me her story. They don't take it like saying "what's up" in the States. Also, heard a few people say I, and Americans in general, act fake nice because we strike up conversations and overly say thank you and stuff. I was being genuine, but apparently it seems fake in Europe in general. And efficiency at work. At work they only focus on work and getting out of there. It felt like I was bothering them when I'd start a friendly banter at work. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.